What is up? Welcome to episode number 114 of the unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. I'm Adam Choit. To follow this show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram, and on YouTube, just search Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. If you're there, please subscribe. I definitely appreciate that. Give the videos likes. That's always helpful. I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram and Twitter if you want to follow me. That's appreciated too. And positive reviews on Apple Podcasts are definitely appreciated too. And please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com. That will forward directly to my link tree where you can get all of my links to all things related to this show. AdamChoit.com for all my other personal projects, my other podcast, comedy show that I produce, my short film. All that other stuff is on there, AdamChoit.com. I want to get into it fairly soon, so we're gonna get started today. But so today's guest is singer, songwriter, musician Madison Hughes. After a trip to the Newport Folk Festival on her 14th birthday, Madison's passion for music continued as she went into high school and then on to study at Florida State University. I'm reading right off her website, of course, here. She's become versatile across multiple genres and styles, often performing countrified versions of rock classics or more folksy, sultry interpretations of pop and country hits. A turning point in Madison's career came in 2022, last year, when she decided to apply for NBC's The Voice as she landed a coveted spot on the Blind Auditions stage by charming the coaches with her country rendition of the Bob Dylan classic, Knockin' on Heaven's Door. She's been mentioned in the following news publications: Billboard, Taste of Country, Wide Open Country, WSMV Nashville, First Coast News, News for Jax, and Fox News. She's just released a single covering the Derek Trucks band's Our Love, and we are going to talk about that and more. So let's just get started. Here's Madison Hughes.
What is up, guys? What an intro that was.
That was good. I sort of edited your website. I figured that's where I get most of my intros. I'm like, if that's what they're saying about themselves, that's okay for me to introduce them.
I had to get my sisters and my dad to help me write that. It's so weird writing a bio for yourself.
It is a strange thing to do. I've had to do that a little bit, but it's a necessary evil. I follow a lot of stand-up comedians, and it's interesting to see them write their bios because they try to put in a lot of the personality and get their whole tone and style.
And I need to do that.
Yeah, no, I think you did it. I definitely get a sense of your influences and history and all that. But anyway, how are you holding up during whatever year this is?
I'm great. I am located presently now in a public library in Northeast Florida, in a town called Fernandina Beach, north of Jacksonville, Florida, where my hometown is.
Very cool. Yeah, before we started recording, I did notice that someone went behind you and grabbed, what are those, videos or books? What is that behind you?
I know, they are books.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we may get some
good song title ideas, maybe.
We may get some customers during the recording, but yeah, it's quiet like a library. The sounds good. We can get right into it. Why don't you tell me about a little bit about your background and where you grew up, and we'll talk about your musical journey and get into Derek and Susan and TTB and your single, of course. Yeah. But I'll give you the floor to kind of tell me a little bit about your background and growing up.
I grew up in a town called Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, which is right south of Jacksonville. We're in St. Johns County, but Jacksonville's like 5 minutes away. And I started playing music when I was 5th grade, however old that is, 10 years old, I think. And my dad and I started taking guitar lessons together. I did the 5th grade talent show. I performed Wild Thing on my guitar. It was a big moment, really fun.
Yeah, that's in your bio too. I saw that somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so he influenced me a lot of the music. We listened to like Bruce Springsteen, Jackson Browne, and the classic Americana bands. He loved The Who and all the other classic rockers. And he specifically loves Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks. So, but yeah, I would say he was definitely a big influence for me being interested in music, but none of my family members are actually musically inclined. I was the only one that picked up singing, took it and ran with it.
And this was all when you were 5 years old. You kind of
no, 5th grade. So I guess that's like 11.
Fifth grade. You were
yeah.
But before
But
then, you were just kind of like starting to get
right,
exposed to some music, but you weren't singing.
right.
Or were you starting to
No,
sing?
no. I think I was saying like "America the Beautiful," and I would sing the anthem at home or something. I saw a home video where I was doing that. Um, but yeah, I wasn't like some prodigy, by any means growing up. Some people's story, they're like their parents made them practice hours per day, but that was really not me.
But they know they must have noticed, or you must even noticed in yourself that you had some
I
sort of a
know.
talent or interest or some
I
combination of
know. It's
those
like I don't know
things.
what I even thought of it. I just like I had Michael Bannock was the name of my guitar teacher, and we just learned songs like Tom Petty songs and Bob Dylan, and um, it's crazy just like looking back every day. You don't think you're gonna get here, but then we end up here because over a period of time, just
So
kept going.
that's
No,
I got you. So you and your dad learned guitar at the same time? Is that
yeah,
what you said?
yep,
That's
it
special.
was. Yeah, I don't think I wasn't like, hey, I want to take guitar lessons. I really feel like he was like, I'm getting a Taylor guitar. You're gonna get one too, and we're gonna find a local Jacksonville music teacher. Yep.
That's cool. What do you remember about like the early, like you said, you mentioned
The
Bob Dylan songs and Tom Petty,
yeah.
but in terms of like even just learning music at, when you're first starting out, whether singing or guitar playing, what do you kind of remember like the biggest like challenges, especially playing
Oh my
guitar?
gosh, yeah.
I always ask people about like, because I play a little guitar too. So I always
Uh-huh.
ask about the early days. It's hard on
We
your
had like
fingers. What's the hardest to
yeah.
learn? The
Yeah, you have to
biggest
build up
hurdles?
your calluses. You have
Right.
to learn our teacher made us learn like the sheet music and learn the tab notations. And I actually liked that kind of puzzle piece of that. Because I liked math growing up, so it felt kind of similar. Because
So you did
I never
learn reading music and sheet music.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I don't even know what it's called anymore. The notes on the paper.
Yeah.
What musical
Notation,
notation?
musical
Yeah.
notation,
See, I clearly
sheet
forgot
music. You had
everything
it.
now.
Yeah, sheet
Um,
music.
yeah, sheet music. But I remember going through a phase of like loving Jimi Hendrix and wanting to learn how to solo, and like I got pretty decent for a little bit, but I feel like as you get older, you get more specific in what you like what aspect of music you want to get good at. Some people that's like I want to be a shredder or I want to do really songwriting. Um, and for me, it's just the passionate singing. It's kind of the natural that just came most naturally for me. So therefore, that's the most exciting part of the musical journey for me. It's not like the guitar or the songwriting. I really just like the singing part and the performing it.
This is a question I kind of ask other people because like Derek and Susan and some of the classic rock influences and bluesier influences and older influences that you like and I like and your dad likes are not always the most popular amongst our
No.
peers and your peers, especially, you're a bit younger than me and people around your age. What did other people like your friends or people who were not into this
Oh,
type of classic rock, what did they think about what you were doing? And did you have other musical interests too? Yeah, I'm kind of curious about
yeah,
that. Like, were you
I
kind of just
know.
focused on this and other people thought you were weird? What was that
I
like
don't even
being?
remember discussing like in school, like talking about music. I feel like we never talked about that in amongst my peers in middle school or whatnot. And in that era of time, I wasn't really there was not like posting covers online or people in your class would see, oh, she does music. People didn't really know that except when I would play in chapel or in the musical or choir. But I feel like I would get along with the parents of the kids because they would all
No,
like the
I
same music,
understand. Yep. I kind of deal with some of that myself to some degree. I mean, a
Right.
lot of past guests on this show, especially the fans, tend to be old, my age or even somewhat older and whatnot. But that's kind of the nature of the beast when you're getting
But
into
now
music that
I feel
like
like the
this.
jam bands are coming back though in terms of like the younger generation liking that type of music.
Yeah,
So,
parents are taking their kids to the shows,
yeah.
like yeah, like your,
Uh,
like yourself, or exposing them to the music.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll kind of let you continue on your musical journey.
Okay.
So fifth grade, we started playing guitar with your dad
Yep.
and played Wild Thing, and that got a
Yeah.
response. Learning a
I
little
have
soloing. But tell me
Right.
more about going into your adolescence and where your music life went.
It's good practice for me to figure out how to tell my story because it's hard to like say hit every milestone. But yeah, I went through just so many different mini phases of music. And people ask like, oh, or some artists that I meet now, they're just focused on one genre. So I was just exposed to all these different. I loved like rap music. I loved music from like London in college phase and R&B music like Bryson Tiller and Drake. I really liked that for a time period. Um, like Afro beats and just my brain for music like always wanted to try to do it all. And so that was if you see on my Spotify and whatnot, you'll see all these different sounds because I just genuinely liked to experiment and just post. I didn't really care. Oh, I'm not some perfect cookie cutter artist that has it all together. I'm just gonna upload what I want when I want to. So I just did that throughout college on like SoundCloud. That was the big platform then. And then up until fast forward The Voice, which I tried out in 2022, the early of last year. And after that was when I was like, I really want to try writing in a more specific sound that I can play live because I didn't really feel like I could be doing this hip hop music live. It didn't seem as um like the journey I should have gone down. I don't know, but
That makes
it's
sense.
all over the place. It's so weird communicating my story because it doesn't feel like
It's still happening.
oh, yeah,
It's still playing
exactly.
itself out. No, I
I
get that, and
know.
that makes sense, and that's good that you were open to all these different types of music, and that gives you a chance to kind of probably, I'm guessing, find your own sound and who you are as a
Right.
musician, an artist, a
That's the biggest thing.
songwriter.
I keep saying that all the time. Like, I gotta find my sound. I gotta find my sound. People are like, it will just come as you just keep every day. You know, like we obviously when we hear Susan Tedeschi and she sings, like she has a certain. I don't know if she like works in the songwriting process, but you can tell they're all still like kind of match each other, like just the themes they talk about, and it's not all over the place. You're not confused, and so that's one of my goals for this year is to like get songs written that somewhat people can be like, oh, that's a Madison Hughes song, you know. But it's like cool that I'm still in the very early phases, even though I've been doing this a long time. It still is like the beginning of like a legit career, I guess. Because until after The Voice, that's when I was like, oh, I gotta take a leap of faith and actually try and not just live in this. This is just a dream, and my childhood was my hobby. Like, let's actually try to make something of this. So
That's
then
exciting.
yeah, and then I don't think I mentioned, but my first single after the show, like my first legit, I mean, as an artist, I released that single March 17th, and that one did pretty well on the internet, I guess. It was called You or the Whiskey, and co-wrote it with my friend Rich Deans in Nashville. And yeah, that was like the only a month ago that I put that out. Uh,
Yeah, I'm a fan. I've
so
been
yeah,
listening
it was
to
new.
your stuff.
Okay,
That
cool.
that and Our Love on repeat for the last
Yeah.
24 hours or so. Super cool stuff.
So
No,
fun.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to share that for all that for sure. And it's interesting to hear you talk about your sort of different, like what you were sort of into and all these eclectic and different styles that you were sort of exposing yourself to. So I feel like talking to different artists and people from different creative fields and just in general in life, like sometimes I think these things have an interesting way or funny way of finding their way back into our lives. So maybe you're not hardcore into Afro beats or hip hop or some of these other genres at the moment, but that stuff is like still in you and with you, and you never know. Like in 5 years and 6 years from now, you may be making some kind of fusion album or taking on a side
Right.
project or wanting to get something out of your system that's still in you. So like this
Yes.
is all
You
like
get it.
part of you, and people, yeah, people come full circle with some of these things that they were into. Oh, I remember I used to be into this, and now here it is back in my life. This person from my hip hop days, we're working on a project
Yeah.
together, or a fusion thing, or a hybrid thing, or a crossover. So you never
Yep.
know where life is going to take you. Um, So tell me, I guess, unless we covered all, but up until like The Voice, is there any other highlights or anything that you'd like to mention, and then or we can get into the Voice experience.
I think I hit it all. I think just in high school it was mainly doing musical theater and choir, and then college was when I was focused on like the whole beat making, and I was obsessed with just like cover songs and uploading them on SoundCloud. I was not that into the whole college culture scene at FSU. Everyone's like, "Oh, you went to Florida State? That's crazy." Said I wasn't in the Greek life, um, and I wasn't even in the music scene. Like I, not at all. I was by solo making music alone, and now it's the opposite. I'm like craving, like I need to write with people, and I want to jam with people, not be head down on GarageBand. But yeah,
Yeah, jamming is fun. Playing with other people, that's where the joy is. And I think at the same time with any creative thing where you're working and collaborating, you're getting feedback in like real time. So that's like it's hard to sometimes like work in a bubble or in a box, so to speak, and not know
100%.
how good or
Right.
something might be. Whereas jamming with people are like, oh, that's really good. Do that again,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Exactly.
You definitely can learn in real time or get better in real time exponentially.
Yeah, and that's what like the voice kind of like showed me. It wasn't just like my family that was kind of being nice and oh, you could follow your dreams. Like to have Blake Shelton say, "I want you on my team." Like I know it's like kind of a reality show or whatever, but it's still like is validating in some sense. Like okay, well these people they're in the industry, deep into the industry, so and
Yeah,
they
that'll
see what
go on.
you, and they see the gift you have, and so it definitely it's inspired me a lot. So like if I hadn't have done that show, I'm not sure I would be making as many moves I am now, like and really working hard.
Right. Even if it's just a TV show and not the be all and end all, it's such a cool benchmark and moment. And like you're saying, it's something that sort of inspires you to keep going. It's just another sign from the universe that you're headed in the right direction.
Yep.
Tell
Yeah.
me about the whole voice story, like how that all came
Yeah,
together and
we
that process. I'll let you do that.
we got the call in February 2022 that, "Oh, you've been selected based off of your video audition, preliminary audition. So you have 3 months to, get trained up and fly out to Burbank, California." Um, so I had to make sure I would be super prepared when I got there. Um, and you get to choose what you're singing. And so I wanted to choose a song I've been singing since high school. It's "Knocking on Heaven's Door" by Bob Dylan. Um, and they specifically said you got to choose a song that's not going to be nerve wracking, and one that's easy in a sense that you're not going to forget the words, and because it's going to be a very scary thing to go on to national television live and not mess up and sing to get their attention. Um,
They're making
it
me
was a
nervous
I know,
just with that. Like, why? It sounds like they're
I
making
know,
people extra nervous. Sing a song that's not nerve wracking. What does that even mean? I
right,
guess just something that's not lyrically super duper complicated.
right, yeah, not where you're rapping or something. Gosh, I could
Right.
not. Like, thankfully, "Knocking on Heaven's Door," it was almost like a too much of an easy song, but I had to push myself to hit the higher notes at the end, which I would have never done that if I was not on this show and they didn't and the vocal coach didn't push me to do that. Like, she's like, "Well, you got in order for them to get to turn around, you have to show your range." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm very much an alto. I don't really do the high notes." She's like, "You have to do it. That's just they're not gonna turn around if you don't hit them high notes at the end." So that was what I was worried most about. But when you get out there and your body just knows what to do and you just let it fly, let it rip. And it was cool because my parents, I saw them this side of my eye, like, um, they're watching on the jumbotron, but they're watching on the screen. They're not watching me perform. on the stage. But yeah, they had like the green room or whatever, and then the cameras are in there filming their reaction too. But I could still see them at the corner of my eye. And then when the three judges turned around, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like tearing up, but they cut out that part of me crying. And they're like, okay, who do you want to choose? And I was like, okay, Blake Shelton. Like, it didn't have to be that deep about, oh, why didn't you choose Camila Cabello over Gwen Stefani? It's just first
What a
thing that I could
moment.
think.
What a
Yeah.
moment, though. I'm sure that what an amazing moment. And when you were watching, so you saw your parents on a screen, or you saw them just standing
Well,
at the
like
side?
I like in my what's it called, peripheral vision, I saw them. They're off stage, but they for some reason can't see me for some angle they're at. Um, but I hadn't seen them for the whole time I was um the 30 days at the hotel in Burbank when we were doing all the film stuff before the audition. Um, you don't get to see them
Yeah,
until after.
you're in
Yeah,
like some kind of
lockdown.
lockdown thing
Yeah,
where they don't want you to
exactly.
reveal any
I know.
secrets of the
I don't know
show
if I'm
or
breaking the rules right now by talking about.
yeah, it's funny. I was
But
gonna ask another question about that the process. Um, so when you got called, like how many do you know how many like people were still being considered
well,
for air? Like at that point was
so,
because they narrow it down,
I
I'm sure quite a bit
yeah.
for what who actually ends up on television. It's only a handful of finalists or
I
whatever.
know.
But it, you
Well,
probably at that point,
100. It
yeah.
was like 120 of us got flown out to Burbank, and I know like only 52 get actually shown on the screen. So that's a lot of people that uh was sad for them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately it still messes with a lot of their heads. Like people that did not get a chair turn. I'm like, oh, that's not don't let that affect your musical goals because it's a TV show at the end of the day and it's still messing with people's head. But it
Yeah.
can also mess with your head for the better. Like, I hate to admit that, but it's like it did help me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Mm.
It's a tough thing, especially I'm sure a lot of these contestants are young and perhaps a bit more
I know.
fragile and
I
understandable. Yeah,
know.
that's what comes with being younger, like to get that sort of rejection in a sense.
Mhm.
But like being rejected publicly is definitely can
Yeah.
be
Oh my god, I
traumatizing.
know. I know. I was like telling my mom, stop telling everyone that I'm trying out for the show. Number one, you're not supposed to. Number two, like, what if I don't get a chair turn? And all these people are gonna be like, haha, she tried and she didn't. But
Yeah, but at least I mean it's definitely a compliment just to get that far, and people
I
should
know. Oh,
be
I know.
honored
Everyone
or look at the
agreed.
brights. It's easy for me to say from afar, like, "Oh, you got on. That's so cool." Even if you didn't make it as far as you wanted, it's still such a compliment and a good sign that you're. But again, like you're saying, one should never let one rejection or the one thing, the one chance, the one opportunity determine your ultimate faith in your
I
career,
know.
whether it's
I
going to be
know.
success or not, because of the voice or because of this one show or because of
Yeah.
this one song. Don't let the one thing affect like your outlook really too.
Yeah. And I thought that was as far as I would make it in music, but it's really just felt like now that's the catapult for where I can go. So it's definitely cool.
Tell me more about the moment the chair turn and whatnot,
Hmm.
and kind of like your emotions from there, and like
Yeah.
what
It was
happened
like
from there.
it was Gwen Stefani turned first and Blake right after her. And then Camila Cabello turns at the very end, but John Legend did not turn. But I was
What
just so
the?
shocked that like they because I thought you had to the voice, I thought it was about like how much you can show off and like I can't I don't not known for being crazy like that. Um so to hear their notes about like, oh, I loved your tone and just you had this wild side to you, it said Gwen Stefani. It's very complimentary of just like the niche of singing that I do. And so I was like, oh, okay, so they do acknowledge all types of singers. It's not just the Mariah Careys they're looking for.
That's
And
cool.
I did, yeah, I definitely teared up like right when the chair turned. It's like and then they interview you after, and it's like I'm trying to remember that feeling, but it's so it was overwhelming.
I bet. I
Yeah,
bet.
because
It's
you're
funny.
like
You're going.
whole dreams just like to make this work, and then you see people like Blake Shelton that's like agreeing, yeah, continue.
Yeah, no, like we were saying, it's like you don't want to let the one opportunity determine your whole future, but at the same time, it is a huge opportunity and a lot
Yeah,
that you're putting into one one
correct.
opportunity. So when you finally like succeed on whatever level, it's like I'm guessing relief in some ways is
Yes, no,
part of the
exactly.
emotion that it's over and that it went
I
well.
know. All of us were like, we just want to get through the blinds. We don't care about, making it to the finals. I'm like, gosh, no, I just want a chair turn. Anyone.
I wonder if Derek and Susan will ever do "Knocking on Heaven's Door."
I
It is
know.
such a maybe the most covered Bob Dylan song, and all of his songs are covered by everyone. He's
Right.
the most
Have they
covered
covered
artist.
any have they covered his songs yet?
Yeah, they've done a bunch of
Susan?
songs. What I mean, now I'm putting myself on the spot. But
I know.
they've done well. She does "Don't Think Twice." It's all right. She
Oh,
does
cool.
that a lot, and they've done "You Ain't Going Nowhere" and
Mm.
"Going Gone." I'm just thinking off the top of my head some
Oh,
of the
cool.
Dylan songs they've done. Some of the more obscure things like Going Gone, I guess is probably they haven't done that in a while, but they do a cool version. I'm not sure if you know that song, but
Cool.
yeah, they love Bob Dylan. There's some video of Susan. I don't know if Derek. I think it's just Susan. I think she's opened for him a few times over the years
Wow.
pre TTB. So there's some videos and footage and photos of him on stage with Susan and like
That's
singing
cool.
together and playing together. They actually, I need to follow up with them, but they opened a Bob Dylan like museum in
Oh,
I think it's in Tulsa, and it's fairly new within the last couple of years.
okay.
So I was in touch with them a while ago about getting someone from them on the
Ooh.
show to talk
Yeah,
Bob
you
Dylan,
should.
someone who's a fan of TT, just all these different like because they love him. Susan and Derek, such big fans of Bob Dylan and all of his music as am I.
Heck yeah. I think they're actually going to play at Daly's Place. Susan and Derek, right? They're coming up to their hometown. They're playing the hometown show in June.
Yeah, is
Um,
that when the next one is? Yeah, I feel like they sometimes the Jacksonville shows or the Florida shows, they can be at
yeah,
the beginning of the year, they can be at the middle of the year,
right.
they're thrown at the end. There's kind of like any time of the year they can easily squeeze some local
Yeah, I
Florida
wish I was
shows.
at their anthem performance.
Oh, the national anthem at the
Mhm.
Jaguars game.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, that was impressive. But not to go on too much of a tangent,
I know.
did you happen to catch the Super Bowl national anthem with
Oh, yeah.
Chris Stapleton?
Oh my god.
I think that was no disrespect to Susan or Derek and any of
No,
their
yeah.
renditions over the years. That was one of my favorite
Yep,
anthems of all time.
I agree.
I think the three that stand out the most is his, um, and what was I gonna say? Obviously Whitney Houston's was pretty impressive at the Super Bowl 30 years ago. And I don't know if you ever saw Marvin Gaye do the
Mm-mm.
national anthem he's done it a couple of times, but I think it was the
Ah,
1983 NBA All-Star game.
mm,
Check that out on YouTube. He did
cool.
it to like a beat, and it was just on fire. Like that, that might have been released as a single too. I'm not even sure, but like that's one of the Marvin Gaye, the Whitney, and the Chris Stapleton
Oh,
ones are my three
cool.
favorite. And of course Susan and Derek, and they've done it a handful of times over the year. I feel the guitar players, that's a whole nother genre. The
I
Slashes and
know.
Derek and Jimi Hendrix
Well,
versions.
I
I don't
know.
even compare those to the vocal ones. That's like a different a different
I just love
genre.
the sound of like Chris Ableton, Susan Tedeschi. Like they're people say they're what country blues. I don't even know genre wise, southern rock, but just
Yeah,
soulful. So
all
that
these
yeah,
things we're
I think
saying, yeah.
that's what I'm like. That's what I'm drawn to about them because I like that they're kind of alternative though too, and they have that indie spirit. They're not just the basic, typical, but they're still mainstream that so many people love their music and what they're doing. So that's what I aspire to be like alternative indie, but also you are loved by the masses, like making popular music in that sense.
It's such an interesting
Yeah.
dynamic and juxtaposition because it's like one wants to be unique, an individual,
Mhm.
an artist, express themselves, but at the same time have some sort of universal appeal. But that is what the universal appeal is being, I think, authentic to yourself and true to
Oh yeah,
yourself and who
people
you
love
are
that.
and passionate about what you're passionate about and sharing that. Like that
Yep,
is part of what it adds to the universal appeal, I think, to
that's right.
music, even if you're not setting out to I'm going to appeal to people, but by being
Right.
yourself, maybe that
Yeah.
leads to that.
Oh, definitely.
Um, I get well, let's get back into
Only.
to
I
the
know.
voice
I keep going on different
into
tangents.
the no, I took us there
Or we can
into
stop on the voice.
yeah.
We
What
can
would
move
happen
on to the single.
yeah? What would happen after that? What
I'm
was
thinking
life
fast
like?
forward, I was just like, oh, I got to get songs out. I got to write songs. And I was not used to writing in this kind of country, soulful style, but I want to do more of that. So I try to find writers in Nashville, just the grassroots way. Um, gonna email people, and some of it's gonna not work, some of it will, but I still like was thinking this morning, like, oh, there's so many different like writers I've reached out to. Is my sound gonna be all over the place and whatnot? But like these things you can only learn by just going through it. Like it's a new thing, that the whole songwriting music industry. I don't really know how it works, so I'm just kind of figuring it out. But I guess like for Susan and Derek, they had each other to write with, I guess, and they never really did the whole Nashville experience.
Not only do they have each other right, but they have 10 other band members, and
I know.
they bring in additional songwriters and musicians to play
Oh
with and
man.
write with, and send their stuff off to other people for feedback as well, from what I understand. So
Yeah.
they definitely don't exist in a bubble either.
Yeah. That's in recent. It's like you have this goal of like I want to do an album and get songs out and just the path to get there. It's like you just don't know what it looks like, so you just keep figuring it out.
That's the right attitude to have, to be honest with yourself and uh, realize, I guess, you don't know what you don't know. So
Yeah.
just
Right.
by learning and exposing yourself to
And
different
people are like,
musicians
"Oh,
and
why are
whatnot,
you
it's good.
posting it?" People are like, "Why are you posting like all these different genres on Spotify? That's confusing to your listener." I'm like, "I'm figuring out as I go what people like to hear, what I like to play, and there's no other way. I'm not just gonna hoard up all these songs I've recorded and just not do anything with them. I want music is music, and I don't necessarily care about looking, you know, like not looking marketable or something if I'm not in a perfect package, you know." But
Right. Everyone, family, friends, the general public, they all have opinions.
yeah,
And then they're not afraid to share. That's one of the things, like even myself, like putting myself out publicly, like doing a podcast,
mhm,
like that's
right.
one thing I'm sure that you've dealt with, is like people's opinions that you may not like or agree with. Like how do you handle that negative feedback or criticism, or
I
even
know.
constructive criticism? I'm sure can be sometimes
Yeah,
not
well,
easy to listen to.
I hired a coach to actually help me with all this mental stuff. No one does that these days, but I found her magically. So I worked with her the last year, and it's really helped my
And
journey
that's
through the
not even
voice.
really. I was gonna say that's not really very
Not a
like,
vocal,
yeah, not a vocal
it
person,
wasn't
just
vocal lessons. Yeah, it's
a
just like
mental health, a
mental,
mental
like yeah,
fitness.
it's not
Um,
like people. I guess some people do therapists or whatnot, but she's more like a forward thinking. How can we get over your obstacles and get where your goals are? Sometimes it's helpful to have an outside family member, you know.
yeah, someone objective. I
Yes.
get that. Tell me about your connection to TTB or Derek
Yeah.
Susan, how the single came together,
Yes. Let's
and
get
all
into
that.
that. Okay. So it's April 2023 now. A few months ago, my dad's always sending me different Spotify links of songs he loves, and he's like, "Madison, we need to um, we need to get you a really good slide player in Nashville, and you guys need to cover a Derek Truck song." He's like, "I have the perfect song. You need to do Our Love from the 2009 Already Free album. And when I first played it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this song is amazing. At first, I didn't know much about Derek Trucks. I was like, oh, is this Derek Trucks singing? Then I found out it's someone named Doyle Bramhall, who's also super legendary. Um, and so then I was like, okay, how am I going to find people to cover this song? I don't want to just be me and my guitar, little stupid YouTube cover. Like I want this to be a legit, like Bonnie Raitt covers Angel from Montgomery, that type of thing, you know? So I posted on Facebook looking for extraordinary slide player in the style of Derek Trucks in Nashville to collaborate on this cover song that I want to release. And somebody had tagged this guy named Sam Burse, who lives in Nashville, and he tours with Tanya Tucker, country artist. So he reached out to me. He's like, oh, I'm super interested. And he laid down the acoustic guitar track. He said, okay, you go record this in your home studio, send it back. I'll put the slide after. And then I have a drums guy and a bass guy, and they'll send in their parts. And then we'll get a mixer guy to put it all together. And so we definitely did it like the whole DIY thing. We didn't go all in like a Nashville studio and record it live together. It was all like overdubbed in a sense, where each person did their part. So like it took a month to kind of get everyone's schedules to line up where they could go in their home studio and track their part. And fast forward, we got it all tied up. And then I was like, well, I need to film a visual to this audio. So I'm a videographer, and since the Derek Trucks is from Jacksonville, I was like, I'm from Jacksonville too. This is so cool. I'm gonna find a very Jacksonville, North Florida background for this video. So I chose the pier in St. Augustine and filmed multiple different angles of me just kind of lip syncing the song. And I released that on, what was it, April 14th. And it is out everywhere. And it was like a long time coming, this big project, but it's so worth it. It's crazy because when you listen to songs, like the work it took to get to that product was so long, but it's such a simple product that you're listening to, you know, with all the effort that goes in behind that. It's just a lot. But yeah, what am I missing? It's like a super jam song, so like a 5.5 minute, but I was fine with that. That time length because I want my music to have like these cool elements, like solos, and not just be, what's the word, just so cookie cutter, not paying attention to other beautiful instruments that need to be heard, because there's so much passion in that slide guitar that I feel just as much from singing.
Yeah, you care about the
what did I miss?
musical. You care about the musical aspect of music.
Yeah,
And
yes.
not just overproducing a 2 minute pop song, a 2.5 minute pop
Exactly.
song. I get that, and it sounds great. And congratulations on the release and all that.
Thank
That
you.
we're recording this on the 15th, so that was literally yesterday, the
Yeah.
14th, that
Oh
this
my
was
gosh.
released. And kudos to your slide player as well. What's his name again?
Yeah, his name is Sam Burse.
Yeah, I'm gonna check
And
him out and follow him too for
oh
sure. Like,
yeah,
because that is a super
of course.
challenging thing to try to not only cover Tedeschi Trucks, Derek Trucks band song, or any Derek Trucks
I
music, like
know.
to sort of like make it your own and
Yeah, I
it
think
be
he
high
did, right?
quality, yeah, and not sound like just an impression or someone trying
Right,
to do that to sound like Derek, but also be inspired by Derek and give a nod to it too. Like that's a challenging thing to
right,
do. Like I always talk about how like Derek the man is a virtuoso legend, the best slide player in the world in my opinion. I think that's a fact. And he's
right.
amazing when he's not playing slide too, a legend virtuoso in that regard as well. And Susan is a great guitar player herself, but I think to play on stage with Derek every night and be playing guitar too, like you got to be a little bit brave and confident, and I respect all that. I remember one time I saw Gary Clark Jr. open for Tedeschi Trucks band,
Ooh,
and he took out the slide And he's like, yeah, I know Derek Trucks is in the house, but I'm gonna play Slide anyway. Like he gave
So,
like a what do you call it? A disclaimer before he playing. He's like, I'm not
right,
gonna be Derek Trucks, but this song has Slide. I like, it was funny. So everyone is self-aware and knows that to when you're covering a Derek song. That's why you don't
right.
get a lot of like Allman
No,
Brothers covers or Derek
no,
Trucks band or Tedeschi Trucks because it is so hard to cover their songs,
right.
I think.
I would love to do an Allman Brothers cover next. My dad was saying you need to cover Blue Sky by them.
Yeah, I could hear it. Yeah. Mm,
Really
yeah,
cool.
I think that fits your style, tone, and just even like thematically some of the things like that's
Yes.
one thing that can be lost in some of the music where you get the Allman Brothers or especially Tedeschi Trucks band's music is some of the lyrical themes and the messages and the overall like ideas that they express, which is really, they're it's very positive, healing music, soulful, but also realistic and there's like a realist element to their music. It's not sunshines and rainbows and,
Right.
and
No.
Pollyannish, but at the same time it's positive and uplifting and like I think that's what brings me back to their music and why I'm listening to it nonstop and talking about it nonstop.
That's amazing. Yeah, I searched on Instagram like just Tedeschi Trucks and then you came up like second or third, like Tedeschi Trucks podcast. And so
Yeah,
now
good
here we
job,
are.
Google. Good job. I'm curious because Derek and Susan's all their social media handles, I think for the most part, are at Derek and Susan. But people
Yeah.
who just discover them will almost always type in Tedeschi Trucks,
Yeah.
and I think I'm wondering how many people
Yep.
accidentally or coming to my Instagram page based on that because I'm Tedeschi Trucks podcast, but they're
Yeah.
at Derek and Susan, but it's all good. Um, so you've never seen Tedeschi Trucks band live, I'm guessing, because you're
No.
you're a newer fan. I don't know
I
if
know.
people are catching on to that yet.
I just started listening to them for everyone out here listening. The songs I know is Midnight in Harlem, Bound for Glory, Sweet Inspiration. Those are my favorites, and Our Love. That's like, but I love the theme of Bound for Glory. Just
Yeah, takes
like
you
you
to
said, just
church.
just that sweet inspiration. Like I don't know who comes up with these song titles, but I love what the themes they're writing about too.
I'm almost like it's almost like jealous of you in a sense because you're a newer fan and are not super duper familiar with their catalog from front to
No,
back.
I'm not.
You are going to have such an amazing time digging into their music, like going through all their music. Like you were just scratching the surface. That is very exciting. And you said you have not seen Tedeschi Trucks band live.
No.
That is also a must because that's I mean I don't even have to go into why that's why that is essential. I'm excited for your dad is gonna I'm sure gonna drag you out sooner or later
Oh
to
yeah.
one of those shows.
Oh yes. I need to meet him. I hear he lives in the Julington Creek neighborhood in Jacksonville. But
You're talking about
Derek.
Derek and Sue. Yeah, Derek. Well,
Hmm.
Derek and Sue. They have their whole studio is on their
Wow.
property. All that. I don't know
But
if
they
you.
never needed to go to Nashville. See, I would love to just stay in Jacksonville and
Well, they built it.
say goodbye to Nashville.
Yeah, they built it. It's I think like when they
Yeah, I
first
saw
formed the
that
band. I
YouTube
think around
video.
yeah, super super cool. Tell me, I mean, I don't want to. I know you got you're
No.
on you're on the
Okay,
on the
you
clock
can.
here, but tell me more, just a little bit about like Jacksonville, like the music
I
scene in
know.
Jacksonville. And I'm curious about that. Like, what are the cool spots? What's the scene like? And
Like we used to have well, trying to think of music history of Jacksonville, people that I feel like it's like the Southern rock mecca, like Leonard Skinner, Molly Hatchet, Allman Brothers. Was Charlie Daniels from here? I think maybe or
definitely the
South
South.
Georgia. Yeah, okay, so they're kind of
Hmm.
together. Wasn't Tom Petty even from North Florida? If I'm wrong, someone let me know. But um, there was like a big concert hall called Freebird in Jacksonville Beach, which was named after obviously the song Freebird. It's now no longer in service, but I only started getting into Jacksonville music scene until after The Voice because I was just didn't really believe in myself up until after that. So, um, but there are lots of cool it seems like kind of not thriving at the moment. That's what I hear from people like in town. They're like, "Oh, we need a renaissance. You know what happened? It used to be, back in the day, so thriving. How do you even build that up? I don't know. That's why I would love to just move back full time out of Nashville if I can figure that out. But yeah, what
But
else
that
about
I was
Jackson?
gonna
I
say, but
don't
that's
know.
cool though. You're able to spend. We were talking about before recording how you spend. Sounds like half your time in
Yeah,
Jacksonville because you have family
yeah.
and you're doing music there, and then in Nashville,
hmm
obviously, there's a big music scene. So that's cool that you're able to split time between
Yeah.
these cities.
But it's cool,
And
like just now getting to see or appreciating my hometown now. Because for the longest time I went to boarding school, I wanted to escape for so long, and go to LA and Atlanta and try everything but where I was from. And so I have a positive outlook on my town now, and I'm able to go exploring downtown and these, neighboring cities like Fernandina and St. Augustine, Jacksonville Beach, and fall in love with it. So, and then learning all about the music history is like even cooler, and how it's like the type of music I love, like just like Southern soul, rock, bits of country in there. Um, and
you're in the right place. You're in the right
Yeah, I
region.
need to write like a Jacksonville song. That was on my mind earlier. Like
Yeah,
I want to write like a Jacksonville anthem or something that they can sing at the Jaguars game. Some kind of
that's smart.
That'd be a good goal.
And it's something that makes sense for you. Like you are the right person to do that based on
Right.
the style, the genre, where you
Yeah,
live, your history, your
I
interest. It's
know.
not like you're like going out of your way to you know,
Yeah, right
take
about
advantage
list.
of a thing or try to make money. Like
No.
you are the right person for that for that job, I think, and I'd be excited to check that out as I am for
Yeah.
all of your music moving forward.
Uh,
I know again, yeah, I know you got to take off, but anything else we need to cover or mention or you want to talk
man.
about? Derek, Susan, your music
Maybe I would
history.
love to learn more. I mean, I'm gonna continue to dive into their whole history. I don't know if Google's gonna teach me, or if there's any local Jacksonville people that have stories about them. I bet there are, you
Yeah,
know.
I want to talk to them too. Send them my way. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited for you to get to dive into all their music. There's like so much on archive.org and obviously all their albums and they're touring this year. So there's so much
So
music to
fun.
consume on various fronts, all things TTB. Where can people find or follow you? And I'll give you the floor to plug, promote,
Yeah.
whatever you want.
I'm madisonhughes.com. So you can find me there and Google my name. It should pop up. But let me know your feedback on the Tedeschi or Derek Trucks band cover song. It's not technically Tedeschi Trucks,
Right.
it's before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So glad we could talk.
Cool, yeah. And then the single is out on
Yeah,
Spotify. I
Spotify,
saw it.
YouTube, all
Hmm.
those platforms. So
Our love, Madison Hughes, madisonhughes.com.
com.
It's kind of a popular name.
Had to buy the
You're not the only
domain.
Madison Hughes out there. I did notice that. And by the way, Tom Petty is from Gainesville, Florida. I
Okay.
looked up that as
So
well.
close.
I'm yeah, in the right state. I'm on top of it. But thank you for your time. I appreciate
Oh,
it. I'm sure we'll talk more
absolutely.
soon. And
I'm
maybe I'll
so
get to
grateful.
check you out live sometime. Come
Oh
out
my
to the West
gosh.
Coast.
Yes. Yes. We'll stay in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye bye. So there you go, episode 114 with Madison Hughes. That was a lot of fun. I definitely appreciate her time and the stories and the background. Our Love is an awesome single. She has a great voice. And I was actually looking, I was talking to my sister about her and sending some links to my sister. And we were trying to figure out how do you describe Madison's voice? I think sultry was the word we came up with, or was the word that she used on her website. And you can kind of hear some of that Gwen Stefani sultriness in there as well, in addition to the country rock and unique tone that is Madison Hughes' voice. But again, I appreciate her time and the stories and the music. Um, Looking forward to more from her to come for sure. Hope everyone is doing okay out there. Please check out at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. Positive reviews on Apple Podcasts are appreciated. Please subscribe on YouTube as well. I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me. AdamChoit.com for all of my stuff. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com. That'll get you everything related to this show, where to subscribe, social media, all that stuff. TedeschiTrucksBand.com. That's the band's official website. Please check that out. Buy merch, buy tickets to shows, join the Swamp Family fan club. They have an app now as well. Please download that and get involved on there. I need to do more of that too. I'll start posting my podcasts more and getting engaged more on the app. But yeah, TedeschiTrucksBand.com. That's their official website. Thank you to Tedeschi Trucks Band for all the music. Thank you to the crew for helping bring the music to us fans. I think that's about all I got for today. We'll do more live recaps once the band starts hitting the road again at the end of the month. But thank you again for listening. I appreciate it. And let's talk soon. Peace.